We're going to start this finance meeting. We have a guest here. We all received something from, I think we still call you Judge, right? Judge Cross. She's going to explain, she gave us a handout of what's going on.
Yeah, just a short thing. Rotary, our Sunrise Rotary does one fundraiser a year, and our funds all stay here in the county, and we support children. We support the Children's Center, it's our major one, if you're familiar with the Children's Center, and also Creative Housing. And we, in fact, this year gave the city money and helped build or refurbish one of the shelters. So, having read that some of you, or most of you, are up for re-election this year, and an event at which 300 and some movers and shakers of Medina come to, you can get your name in the program if you donate as a sponsor, or you can also come if you are. So that's what you have. You have a sheet that you can mail in with a self-addressed stamped envelope, and a little sheet that tells you a little more about Rotary and what we do. And I would just ask that if you would like your name in the program, we need your check by next week. That's it. Anybody else that would like to sponsor? Good way to get. We are a good sponsorship, a good charity for children in Medina County. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Judge. Thank you, Judge.
All right, so the first item we have is assignments for request for council action. We have 7 for the Finance Committee. We have an addendum to the RCA 18162 Fitness Room Project Letter of Intent. 1901 Budget Amendments. 19.2 Medina Hospital Cleveland Clinic LLC Agreement for Dispatch Services. 19.3 Medina Township Agreement for Dispatch Services. 19.4 Montville Township Agreement for Dispatch Services. 19.5, 2019 to 21 water rates, 19.6 CDBG revolving loan agreement, 19.7, 2019 membership renewal to Main Street, Medina, 19.8 expenditure over 15,000, SIPCA Architects Building Department, 19.9 expenditure over 15,000, Duber Architectural Building Department, 19.10 expenditure over 15,000, Lampiers Lawn Service Parks and Engineering, 1911, increase subpoena costs for RETA delinquency program. 1912, fiscal year 18 CHIP grant, MMHA tenant-based rental assistance agreement. 1913, grant application, ODNR, Reagan Parkway multipurpose trail extension. 1914, expenditure over 15,000, Morrison Custom Welding for the parks. 1915, expenditure over 15,000, Krastowski, is that saying that right? Krastowski. That's right, Krastowski Tractor Sales Sports Field. And 1916, petition for detachment from the city to Lafayette Township. Public properties was one item. 1917, Medina County Parks, Lake Medina update and master plan. The next item we have is item 2. Laura Tubo from the Regional External Affairs for First Energy Services is here, and I think we all received a packet from her.
You did. Hi, thank you
so much. And welcome.
Thank you. So I'm your new area manager. I just want to introduce myself. I appreciate the council giving me a couple seconds to do that. Gave you a nice packet of stuff, for you to read at your leisure. But I'll just tell you briefly what's in there. On the left side of your folder, we have some information about our foundation. So the First Energy Foundation is available to the city, 501(c) organizations, and this describes our giving priorities and some of our limitations. We are sponsoring the Sunshine Rotary event, by the way. So I think something we do every year. Behind that is a nice one-page thing about our customer assistance program. So these are programs that help your constituents, and especially the winter months if they're having some trouble paying their utility bills, etc. This is a nice one-pager that describes those things for you. And then on the right side is more about how we interact in times of trouble, storm situations, that kind of thing. We have a nice little flyer that talks about our priority that we use in storm restoration. We like to make things safe first, then we come around to critical customers, police, fire, hospitals, that kinds of thing. Transmission lines, then largest outages, and then those single no lights. And that kind of gives you a brief idea of what we do during storm process. So when you get those questions from your constituents about why did we see a truck and we still don't have power, those kinds of things can be answered with this. And then on that side as well, we have a nice thing about our tree trimming policies. So that's in this green flyer for you. An emergency restoration guide. We do a very nice first responder training, which is free. and can be available to your police and fire, and we can involve neighboring communities as well. And I would be your liaison to get that set up for you. And then 2 other pieces of paper. This one's about the online tools for reporting outages or getting real-time information about restoration times. And then finally, a 1-pager about reporting streetlights, because that's always very important to communities, that they keep the lights on and keep things safe. So if I can help you with any of these issues or any other things that are going on in your ward, I'd appreciate you giving me a call, and I'd be happy to do that. So thank you.
Is there anything positive or negative going on that's going to impact the city in the near future? Anything programs?
Not that I'm aware of, but if you become aware of anything, I may not have the immediate answer, but I know how to get it, so.
That's always good.
I'd be happy to help you.
I'd like to talk to you about that community engagement. Are you going to stay till the meeting's over?
I can.
No, I'll call you.
My card is there.
I got it. I love this community giving part, that's good.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful thing. We love to support communities we serve, and the foundation is always available to look for new opportunities to do that.
It's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3, we have an addendum to the 18162 Fitness Room Project Letter of Intent. Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, 2 updates, if that's okay. First one is the letter of intent. This is just an update to council on where we are in the process of the addition to the fitness room project. The school board approved the fitness room project to move forward with a vote of 5-0 on December 10th, pending a letter of intent from the city. Bob Arnold and I have put together a letter of intent. Greg Keeper has revised it for us, so the mayor can sign it at the bottom there. And then the copy has been sent to the schools already for review, who I believe are asking for some revisions. If Greg or the mayor want to talk on that at all.
The school's asking for revisions?
I thought you had said that to me last week.
No, the school's reviewing it to see if there's revisions, but there are some revisions from Mr. Coyne and Mr. Huber and I meeting with Mike right after board control today, so we're not asking necessarily for passage of this, but it'll be something near this.
I think we can maybe make a motion to approve it, subject to the law director's approval.
If you'd rather do it that way.
And also, again, the letter of intent, this is really just a framework of what's going to happen. It's not a binding agreement in any way, because that's not what letter of intents usually are. They're just an outline of what we anticipate the boundaries to be on both sides, and how the agreements will be reached on both sides, because it's going to be fluid, because as things go on and the project develops, there may be changes that will occur, and you really can't lock them in. And the main thing is finding what's going to happen to the ground lease agreement that the building sits upon, and the agreement between the city and the schools, and then the joint operating agreement of how that will be impacted with the addition occurring under the building. So that's kind of what, but we don't know all those yet, but we know it will be impacted.
Did Huber suggest any major changes to this letter of intent?
I don't think there was anything major.
No.
Just clarification.
Yeah, some of it's just clarifying the language.
Okay.
Any questions?
I do have a question with regard to the bidding process and awarding the bid. Is there any qualification for the bidders to make sure that they, even though they are the best price, they're the best bang for our buck?
Yeah, all of the bids would be lowest and best.
Lowest.
So, part of the process of the bids will be analyzed with the city and the schools, because it's actually the schools building, the city paying for it. So it's their processes, but in most of these things, you want somebody that's done this type of work before, not this is their first project. So
Exactly.
yeah, we'll protect the city against things like that.
Okay, because I don't want to repeat it in the library.
Understood.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Which was not a city project.
I know that. It's an example.
Or a school, either way.
And then one other thing, I don't see anything in the cost estimates there for any contingency. Usually there's anywhere from 5 to 20%
Right.
add-on for contingencies. I don't see that in here.
Okay.
I thought there was.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I see something here for professional fees, but
There's probably going to be an update to this anyway, because this actually was from October, and just roll the numbers over. There'll probably be some changes to it anyway,
Okay.
so we'll ensure that's in there.
All right, thank you.
Bob Arnold will be every step of the way with us on this. He did for every project that we've done at the rec center, the field house, the balcony expansion, the track. He's very good about showing up every day, and he's there for the process. So, don't worry about that. We'll make sure we get what we're paying for.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I just comment with your residence, since it involves my employer, I need to.
Move to approve.
Second?
Subject to the law director's approval.
Second includes the subject to law director's approval.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I
The second item, this is an update for the roof project. What's going on with Nino, Dan, and I have met with the schools and were presented proposals by two firms for the extensive roof repairs. The schools would like to go with Greg Taylor at an estimate of $1.1 million. That's what you have in your packet there for the repairs. And this is the repairs just over the field house and the pools. There are other large or other flat roofs that would need repairs in the next few years. But that is the estimate for this. We hope it comes in less during the bid process, of course. The repairs will start at the end of July and go into August. Our shutdown is at the end of July for 5 days, but this is probably going to extend a week before and possibly a week after, where in turn we will have to close the pools and drain them because of debris falling into the pools and stuff. And then the field house will have to section off while they're working above the courts, different areas. Pools is a big one because if we don't close the pool and drain it, they require us to put some kind of cover along the bottom of the ceiling of the pool, which is a cost of $100,000. So we'd rather close for 3 weeks and drain the pool rather than, we have to drain it anyway for shutdown, so it's not a big deal. So that is what we hope to do pending the bidding process, and if they can get the contracts to be during that time period. The other thing is council will have to approve putting all of the capital improvement funds into a PO for the schools, because it will almost wipe out completely the capital fund. We're lucky in the aspect that we have a capital fund. Just if you haven't read the paper over the weekend, Fairview Park has to replace their whole entire roof too, or a large section of the roof at $1.3 million, and we have to get a bond issue for that just to get the money to cover it, because they are almost 100% subsidized, where we're 7%. So, it's a really advantage to having a partnership with the schools and having a capital fund in place. People don't realize what it really means. So,
What happened to the discussions regarding the warranty?
it will be a 20 to 30 year warranty.
The previous warranty on the current roof?
Well, to give you an idea, Fairview Park's roof was only 12 years old when it failed. Ours was 15 years, technically 10 years old when it failed, and then they came back and repaired all the way up to the end of their warranty. So they did service the warranty to the end of their 15 years, which was September.
So the warranty repairs then add another 15 years on the repairs done by the warranty?
Yeah.
Usually sometimes that's how that works.
Yeah, the schools wasn't interested, they weren't interested in pursuing Tremco on anything beyond, the warranty. So
Are they excluded from doing the roof work on this time?
I don't think they can be excluded. But
I mean, if they were negligent in their, allegedly negligent in their installation of the roof.
I agree, I would like to exclude them, but I don't think we can.
I don't know if
We
we
can
can
do that through the awarding of the bid. That'd be a better time to do it than just up front, I think.
And is there
Yes, sir.
is there a requirement on the warranty just instead of a range? I mean, something like this, there's probably a standard.
You pay for it, so it's 20 year for sure, but then you pay for the other 10 years, which,
But our first one was only 15 years.
right. The only thing about the first one is that when it expired, I wasn't here for it, but.
Because $1 million seems like a lot.
It is a lot.
So
I thought it was.
I just wanted to make sure we get the proper warranty and, at least we document it properly, so when it's finished and approved and the warranty commences, that if there is such a claim, we understand what we can be covered. And, because it's a hefty amount of money. And it's not covering all the roof either.
No, it's not.
So the other portions of the roof that aren't being covered they're not under warranty at all then?
Well, the steel roof, anything that has a steel above it's a 50-year warranty. But any of the other flat areas, which you can see in that map, that they're C, D, and F, I think, they're smaller, and we haven't had any real issues with those right now, so we can continue to probably repair those for a few years.
Now, what's the timing with respect to the expansion and the roof replacement?
Well, the roof replacement we want done by this summer, so, and the expansion's probably not going to be complete until 2020, if we're lucky.
But when's the expected commencement?
Oh, start of the project?
Yeah.
I think he was shooting for spring, summer, but I don't know.
This year?
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yes.
Fall,
And then
I
done
think,
in the spring of 2020.
Okay.
completed by spring of 2020.
So Mike, the 2200 warranty is, I think council's question is that for 20 years or for 30 years, or what's the span for the 2200?
I think Nino and Dan were both in that meeting with us. Did they say it was 20 here, right? That cost that
There's 20, 30, and 40.
Yeah.
The standard warranty was 20.
20.
And that's what the 2200 is?
It shouldn't cost us anything for a standard warranty, should it? What are we doing the roof for if it's going to cost us to
It
get
says
it?
warranty one lump, $2,200.
Maybe that's how they break it out, but that seems weird, but. Okay.
So I think what we'd like to see, Mike, is with the bid, what it is with the basic warranty, if there's a cost associated, and then add alternates for going from 20 to 30. What was the next one, Nino, 40?
Yeah, I think they stopped at 30 though. I don't think he was going beyond 30.
It was a warranty.
Okay. So, what are our options besides 20? Is it 20 to 25, 25 to 30, or is it just 20 to 30, or whatever? And then when we know what the cost of that difference is, we can evaluate the benefit versus the expense.
I've never really heard of them costing you more money for a longer warranty. It's usually the product is warranted by the manufacturer. So it has nothing to do with, for what I want 30 years, well, is the product warranted for 30 years? If it is, why are we only getting 20?
I wonder if they're doing some other things to make it last longer, if that's where the additional costs are coming.
They have to do like a preventative maintenance, so they have
Program.
to, afterward, after that 20 years, they have to be able to go out. I believe it's an annual basis just to do an inspection of the roof to make sure that there are anything that's failing, that they catch it as soon as they can.
So if
For
you start
that
with the
additional
20,
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you start with the 20, then they come back and they reevaluate it, and they'll charge you, for the next 5-year warranty or whatever, however you want to do it, but they can put it in the bid process. It's going to depend on the company that picks it up. They might say, company might pick it up and say, well, we'll warranty it for 30 years for that price. So it could be between 20 and 30 is what he said.
And I think the only other question is the warranty has to be in the proper name. Since the school owns it, I'm sure it'll be in the school's name, but we have to have rights to.
Yeah, it's their contract and everything in this process.
Any other questions on that? Okay, thanks for your update.
Thank you.
Item number 4, 1901, is the budget amendments. We have 2019 parks maintenance, but on a soccer.
Yeah, this is just to accept a reimbursement for some grass seed that was purchased from Medina Soccer. They paid us back for the overseeding that we did.
Okay.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 2019-2 bicentennial sales.
This is the usual, we made some sales, so we're going to appropriate the money that came in. Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 2019-3 Uptown Park railing project. Jensen?
Thank you. This was an unanticipated project that came upon us around the end of September, the end of our season at the Uptown Park. The railings on the gazebo, which come down from the front of the gazebo to the concrete, have failed, and talked with a number of contractors trying to get them temporarily repaired, and we came to the determination that they are not repairable without completely rebuilding them because of the way that they were assembled through its original production. One of the upright columns has completely broken. So since September, I've worked with architectural design studios, Tony Cerny, to come up with a new design that will address two things. One, it's going to bring them up to being code compliant, as well as keep with the traditional style. So this request is to appropriate some funds for this expense. The existing rails are made out of bronze, so you can imagine having those custom fabricated, there's a pretty substantial expense to that of $24,580 just for the expense itself. I've applied or made a grant request to the Uptown Park Trust Fund for this project. They've told me that it is fundable. They're trying to touch base with everybody who's part of that trust, trying to make contact with one more individual. So this is basically going to be an advance so that we can get reimbursed by the trust once they touch base with everybody. Right now they're trying to get a hold of Charlie Griesinger, who is, I believe, in Arizona. So this project, we have to move forward with it. I want to get the rails fabricated and installed before the season starts. So that's why I brought it here prior to having those funds from the trust.
Questions?
It's a lot of money for handrails.
Well, they're bronze, and I guess that's the point. If you want to keep it authentic, you got to keep it bronze, but does anybody even know they're bronze?
They're really nice.
I know they're nice. They should be. For that kind of money.
And the gazebo was constructed what year?
1975.
So it's,
What are you going to do with the old railings?
The old railing will go to public auction.
Because if they're bronze, right?
Or scrap.
They're worth something.
Yeah.
I think we have a railing.
I mean,
they look nice on tie dry.
I don't
It
think.
was actually very difficult to find a vendor that would build these for us because those ones have more of an ornate art type look to them. And it's really hard to find people who want to deal with precious metals in that type of scenario up there. So we don't have this in our budget for Uptown Park, that's why.
So we got to make it conditioned upon approval from the grant, to get the grant to pay for it? I mean,
Well, my recommendation, the reason why I put in the appropriation request is because I need the funds to do it because our existing rails present a hazard to us, and we need to get the new ones installed before the season starts and the activities ramp up on the square.
Yeah, we're going to pay for it.
So I need to front the money from somewhere.
Yeah.
So Keith, where are we taking the money from?
From Parks, and then if we get the reimbursement, we'll deposit it to Parks. And
Right?
So we'll need something else then, because we need council's authorization to apply for the grant and sign the necessary documentation of the grant to receive the money.
I think you're saying.
No, Mayor, this is from the Uptown Park. It's very similar to how we would do the Stevenson Foundation.
Right.
They would give us a check and then we would just accept those funds through the Finance Committee. The grant request was simply just an email about the project.
Okay, there's
much
no
like
paper,
we would do with.
no paperwork or anything to
No.
sign? Okay. So it's more of just a replenishment of them?
Okay.
second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so the next item we have is 1902, the Medina Hospital Cleveland Clinic LST agreement for dispatch services.
This is an agreement for the city to continue providing dispatch services to LST. The reason for the emergency clause request is because it's retroactive to October 15th.
And it's for 3 years.
3 years, correct.
Is there anything that changed from the last agreement that is
We've never
noteworthy?
had an agreement with LST.
Oh, we never had an
And it was
agreement.
something that was caught with the auditors that were expending dollars or we're billing them and they're paying us, but we don't have an agreement
So
in
each
place.
community has
So-
to do one of these.
Yes. Well, we did have dispatch agreements with the 2 townships, but we didn't with LST. And the
Oh.
auditors recommended that we do for the money exchange.
All right? Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
Good.
With the emergency clause.
Second includes emergency clause?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 1903 Medina Township Agreement for Dispatch Services.
This is also an agreement to continue providing dispatch services to Medina Township for $65,000.
It's already been approved by the township, looks like. Questions?
It's also retroactive to January 1.
I do have a question in section 7. In consideration of the sum of $65,000 payable in one annual payment plus additional monies paid by the township to LST, what does that mean? Anybody explain that to me? In section 7, it says they want the $65,000 plus additional monies paid by the township to LST.
Got to be the calls, meaning the physical.
Right, I think what that includes is when the hospital bills each entity, that cost, the total cost for the dispatch cost that LST pays is also charged to the townships.
Yeah,
Because the dispatch that's charged to as 1/3, in the LST contract, it's not a dollar amount, it's just 1/3. But then that third is broken up through the hospital's billing for LST to the city and the 2 townships. So we pay ourselves, we pay about 2/3 of it, and then the rest is the 2 different townships.
Okay, all right.
So that's just clarifying that they're also paying for dispatch LST.
Okay.
Move to approve with emergency clause.
Second included emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And finally, the 1904 to Montville Township agreement for dispatch services.
An agreement to continue to provide dispatch services to Montville Township for $65,000, and it's also retroactive to January 1.
Move to approve with emergency clause.
Second included emergency clause.
Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 1905 and 2019 and 21 water rates.
Thank you. I sent this to you originally in December. The Avon Lake Municipal Utilities, ALMU, holds an annual meeting that's called the Eastern Transmission Lines Customer Meeting. I always refer to it as the rate increase meeting because the way our contract works with ALMU, they're required to give us a 6 months notice of a rate increase. That meeting is the opportunity that they take to let us know what the rates are going to be. Attended that meeting back in December along with Nino, I think Patrick was there, and Bill from Water. They went over what their rate increase is going to be. This is a bit different than what they normally do. They've usually done 1 year at a time. They announced a 3-year increase. You notice in my original RCA that their board had not formally adopted it at that time, but they have subsequently emailed us and let us know that it has been formally adopted. So these are going to be the rates for effective July 1st of 19, July 1st of 20, and July 1st of 21. I laid out a chart here of what we've been paying, how much water we purchase from them, and then I wrote out what this would be on our ordinance. So our minimum bill would go to $14.80 in 19, 15, 19, and 20, and then $15.74 and 21 to keep up with their rates. That's the general water rate increase, and then if it's okay with you, if we can discuss that first and then come back to the bulk water thing, because the bulk water thing is kind of a separate issue.
Yeah, I think we've all agreed and even the Utility Rate Review Committee agreed that passing through the direct increases associated with rural Lorraine to us, because it's just a passed-on cost. We have nothing, we have to pay for it. So that's easy enough, right? Anybody have a problem with that? Okay.
Any others? Okay, then the bulk water, we had a discussion at that meeting, and based on that, I emailed Amy from the county to find out what they're charging on bulk water. We are currently charging $4.50 per 1,000 gallons. They charge $7.20. So it feels like we could go up a little bit on that. The other thing that I asked you for in this, they are currently talking about an administrative fee or increasing a deposit. I asked for a minimum bill. The reason for that is we have a customer who's bought very small quantities of water to the point where it's literally, we would have been better off financially to just not bill them, because by the time we billed it and then they didn't pay it and we sent them another bill, and by the time they got around to paying us, we spent more money putting bills together and putting postage on them than it was worth to collect it. So I just want to put in a minimum bill for bulk water. In any month that you buy bulk water from us, we bill a minimum of 4,000 gallons. Most of the water haulers, that's not going to matter because those trucks carry 5,000 gallons or more, so they're going to have any, one use, they're going to hit the minimum. It's just we have this one customer who's used small amounts and then not paid us, so I want to get around that.
So right now, we don't have anything addressing, we just pay for water that we use 1,000 gallons, we don't have it a minimum.
Right, it's per 1,000, so I mean, in theory, you could come in there with a 10-gallon jug. You have to buy a key, you have to pay a deposit for a key that we have that allows them to get in, and then they fill it up. But, I mean, we do fractions of that even, so if you came in and filled up a 100-gallon jug, we'd bill you, you know, $4.
This is your committee. I mean, do you want to discuss it further? I mean, this is the first time, I mean, you're changing something that we've done forever.
Yeah, we don't have to do it this moment.
No, we can do the bulk water rate anytime. That's fine. If you want to sign that part over and we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Because we're going to sign that, just the bulk water rate modifications to Bob's water utilities, so he can look at it. But I think, yeah, because that's going to be a big change, not a big change, it'll be a change in what we've traditionally done, and you guys got to understand the impact of that, if it's going to be significant or not.
An alternative, Keith, what about charging some sort of administrative fee for something that small, and if they don't pay it the first time, then the next time they get a $10, $15 administration fee?
I think they would be prohibited from buying any more water.
I was going to say, can we say no to them?
Yeah.
Well, that's a third alternative.
They don't get any more water.
I mean, I just want to do it in a way that doesn't detrimentally affect our relationship with the major purchasers. And I mean, Nino made the point we talked about, we don't sell a whole lot of water to this. If we just scrap the whole program, it's not like it would have a material impact on our water fund. We're not selling a ton of bulk water.
Is it just for people with pools and stuff, or what is it?
It's water haulers that are selling water out in the townships. If you have a cistern, if you live out in the township, you have a cistern and the truck comes and fills it up. Those trucks come and fill up somewhere, and they're probably more likely to go to the county because the county has more sites where they can fill up, but we're cheaper, so they can come buy from us. You know, whether we want to continue to do that or how we want to continue to do that, it's probably better for water.
Where do they buy it out of? Where's the
water treatment plant?
Oh, they just go there.
Yeah, if I may, we prefer to keep that bulk water on. It keeps the water rolling with respect to freshness, so it keeps the eastern end of the system open, if you will. So we prefer what little is sold there to continue if possible. It gives the haulers an option because the county's over on Fen Road and it's their eastern fill-up section.
So how many gallons are we talking about a year that people buy?
I mean, I didn't look that up. I can pull that for that.
Not like what, 10 trucks maybe? We're talking.
No,
We only have
they're more than that.
No more than
what is it? 3 customers or 4?
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 haulers, but they're in there.
But they're in there.
Oh, they're in there often? Okay.
Yes, we can get that count for you for the bulk water discussion.
Okay.
For my commission starter.
All right, is there a motion to approve the pass-through of the school rate?
Are we to approve the pass-through of the water rate increase for, are we doing it just for 1 year or all?
It's already been set, so we can do it for all.
Yeah, they adopted all 3, so.
For the next 3 years.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. 19.6 CDBG revolving loan. Who's doing this one? Is this you?
Yep, I can take it.
Oh, John.
So this is part of, this is something we've had in past years, and basically it's a place to put income that's come from our CDBG programs, particularly CHIP. So in cases where we do a house rehabilitation grant, and that's, you know, basically put on as a lien on the property, and there's ultimately a certain percentage that, you know, has to be paid off at closing if the house is sold. And this could be for a CHIP grant that happened 10 years ago. So income comes in on a rolling basis, revolving basis, if you will. Then that money can go into this fund, and then it can be used for activities that would be within the state's handbook for things that are targeted to the type of CDBG communities that are out that is intended for. So this would just be creating that this year and doing the agreement with the state of Ohio.
Questions?
And also, we need to get it approved because we would need to have this retroactively approved back to January 27th, January 12th. So we would need an emergency clause on that as well.
To approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including the emergency clause.
Any further discussion? All in favor with the emergency clause?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 10, 19.7, it's 2019 membership renewal to Main Street Medina. There.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a $30,000 donation for our membership to Main Street Medina. I don't think I have to share with any of the council members, the impact that Main Street Medina is having on our downtown with their events and activities, and the benefit that has for our businesses in the downtown. But to give you some of the more precise data, I've asked Matt to attend and speak to that.
May I please hold Executive Director?
Thank you, Mr. President. Main Street Medina was founded in 2007 as a partnership between the business community, the City of Medina, and the Chamber of Commerce. We spent the past 11 years working in partnership with the city and the businesses and our members to help fill the vacancies, promote the city as a destination, and increase our local economy. As we're going into our 12th year, we've expanded our district footprint, we've added part-time staff, and we're planning on adding a few more events this year. So with the expansion of the district, we're now working in an area that we're calling Southtown, which is South Broadway down to Lafayette, over to Huntington, and then back up to Smith. Our board has talked about that for several years with catalytic projects or the Farmers Exchange project going forward, with Habitat moving into the former Hawkins site. We're working with some of the other businesses. We hope to kind of replicate the success we've had in the historic district down south, to then help connect the historic neighborhoods into the core of the city. So we're asking for your approval again for the $30,000. I believe I gave this to you back in December, but if I could, on the back of the first page, one number to which I'd like to draw your attention is in the middle of the page. We've estimated that we've had almost $1.5 million of economic impact to the city. So that's taking a conservative estimate of $10 per person that comes to an event or just comes to the square for lunch or to go shopping. So I think it's a pretty impressive number, almost a $50 to 1 return on investment with the city of Medina. On the very back of the page, rather than all this text stuff and facts that I like to put together, our new part-time staff person put together kind of an infographic that makes it maybe a little more pretty and a little more user-friendly to understand what we're doing. I'd be happy to answer any questions or hear your thoughts or concerns on the program.
Questions for Matt?
Keep up the good work.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent job.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
It's going great.
Yeah.
And I think Nino loves the holiday lighting. I think he's always...
He does. We're thinking of adding holiday.
Yeah, I didn't answer your email.
I know you
Putting
did.
more lights up, so we'll wait on that.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I wanted to know if you have any more of these for the
I
press.
have one more. I can email it to you guys.
You can have mine.
Absolutely.
And Kevin,
We do have our annual meeting and review.
Everybody, you want to give them all back?
Any given. We have our annual meeting and review with Heritage Ohio on Wednesday, the 23rd of January. On our accreditation, we've received a score of 99 out of 100, so that's pretty good. Out of the 16, thank you, Mayor. Out of the 1,600 Main Street communities across the country, only about half of those are accredited, so it's not something that we take lightly, and it's something this past year that our board and volunteers and committee members have worked really hard to achieve.
How many are in Ohio, Matt, you know?
I think there are 27 full-time Main Street programs and probably another 15 affiliates. Sure.
Well, good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Move to approve. Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. 19.8, expenditure of $15,000 for Sitka Architects, the building department.
This would cover this one and the next 09. This is for third-party architectural fees that we pay for commercial construction plan reviews. This will cover the entire year of 2019. These are fees we collect back from the developer or contractor as part of the building permit fee. We pay these fees out at between $65 and $80 an hour, and we collect back at $90. Because we do not have on staff a full-time architect, we're required to have 2 contracted architects for the state of Ohio Board of Building Standards. So Julie Sipka and Jim Dooley are the 2 architects we have on contract.
Questions for Dan?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 19.9, expenditure of $15,000 for Duber Architectural Consulting Building, same thing.
Same thing.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. 19.10, expenditure of $15,000 to Lampier's Lawn for Parks and Engineering. Ms. Jansen?
Yeah, I'll take it. Thank you. This is a request to continue the median landscaping. Call this Phase 2, which is everything south of Reagan Parkway down to Harding and Highland area. You see the attached drawing that was submitted with the request. This is similar to the first phase, which is north of Reagan Parkway to Hillview. We went out and evaluated the site and identified 15 more planter areas throughout the project area. We were presented with a little bit better of an opportunity for some landscaping kind of directly east or in line with the target area. So we increased the size of the planters to 10 by 40 and put some shrubbery in between there because we have a little bit more of a buffer and protection because the median is much wider in that area. So we're going to use that as an opportunity to put in some of the shrubbery that we had previously talked about in that area. Everything south of the target entrance is going to be done exactly how it was with Phase 1, where we have the 10-foot they're approximately 6 feet by 8 feet planters. And the second phase also includes the installation of trees. When I was talking with the landscape contractor, I asked to get a price on the planting because I was pretty impressed with how quickly and efficiently the Phase 1 went. And they gave us a price of $60 per tree planted, which is, in my opinion, a very good price, especially for the location.
What's the caliper on those trees when they go in?
It'll be about 2-inch caliber. Typically, we don't like to plant anything larger than 2 inches because you run a greater risk for transplant shock. Anything 1 3/4 to 2 inches has worked out really well for us, especially with, we've just finished planting well over 1,000 trees in the last few years. We've seen very little transplant mortality. So I have yet to hear any negative comments about the Phase 1. And it's our hope to get this purchase order in line and the contract executed so that when we have the window of opportunity to get in and get on the contractor schedule, we can get this completed and then the trees planted somewhere around the middle of April to finish it all up.
Yeah, I think, driving by there, I had a lot of people comment on it that, they always comment on why do we have grass, but then I explain to them why. But it looks nice with the stone and the planting areas. I think it's gonna look perfect. I think that creates the visual where people aren't gonna be driving over it.
Hopefully not, but just the way it's done so far, you notice it when you drive. As long as it's not covered with snow, you notice it. It's a good job.
Yeah, because I know in Wadsworth they've had trouble because it's all red and you can't see it. It's all concrete, so I think a lot more people drive over it, which is probably not good for their cars, but it's looking great. Okay.
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 1911, increase the subpoenas for RETA, delinquency program. Oh, this is a good one.
We've had pretty good success. We had last week we had a number of people here at City Hall. We need authorization for more than what we were going to spend on this because we've had a lot of response, which is good.
Well, the first question is, I know that RETA sent out 77,000 subpoenas, and there's been a couple mishaps along the way that people.
4,500.
Is it 4,500?
It's 4,500.
There was 7,000 letters.
Letters go before subpoenas, right?
So, because I know that there's some people, including myself, who have multiple run-ins regarding just clarifying transfer of data.
A lot of those are going to come back. A lot of them are retired people. Probably the most frequent individual thing I've seen is people who are retired. And what you do if you're retired with RETA, you don't have any taxable income, you fill out a form, says, hey, I'm retired, and then they're done. But if you don't fill out that form, all RETA sees is that there's a federal tax return and no city return for that person, and they need to know why. so they look into it.
So just people have to be patient, because I know that there's some tension whenever you talk about taxes and subpoenas.
Oh, yeah.
But
And
I think...
the retirees do that once, right?
Right, they do that once.
So it's
Okay.
not like they have to do that every year. And I've interacted with a number of the folks here, thanked them for coming in and, told them where they're going, why they are. And a lot of times it's just, information that they probably could have handled on the phone or whatever, but they got the letter, so they brought everything in. I was going to announce a council, but I'll share it with you all too. Their customer service, to me, matches very well with what we're trying to do with the city. And an example of that is we had a young lady with a walker that couldn't possibly get down the stairs into the rotunda. So we took her to the back where we have the handicap area set up, and they took their computer and all their data up there and sat down with her, worked her through her paperwork. In fact, 2 people worked with her. Sherry had another person call and just had questions about it, and she has a cordless phone, so I was able to give it to one of their auditors who wasn't busy. He was able to go down where he could get to the access of her account on his computer, answer her questions, let her son bring in whatever they needed to see, and not drag her up here for that. And third of all, we had a lady who walked from Nottingham to City Hall on one of those cold days. I think it was Friday, and Rita thought enough about it to come up and find me and ask, is there any way we could get her a ride back to Nottingham, because they saw the way we treat people here. And it just so happened that Sandy Davis in Community Development was leaving early because of the planning and zoning meetings the night before, so it's like 2:30 in the afternoon. She agreed on her way home, which is south, not north, to go ahead and run her up to Nottingham. So I could just see that their work and our work was blending very well together, and people were treated very respectfully and answering questions.
Well, there's always tension during transition, and there's always things that get lost or information that doesn't get delivered or lost, but I hope people understand that.
Right.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. 1912 fiscal year 18 CHIP grant tenant-based rental assistance agreement.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. This is to create an agreement with Medina Metropolitan Housing Authority to do a tenant-based rental assistance activity again as part of our CHIP grant, our current CHIP grant. This would be $33,000, $3,000 for administration, and then $30,000 for first month's rent, security deposit, and/or utility deposit for income-eligible households, and that would be within the city of Medina and Brunswick, which are the 2 cities within our current CHIP program. No emergency clause, so thank you.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second. I have one question, and that's with regard to the $30,000. Is there any, Medina gets this much, Brunswick gets that much, or is it first come, first served? How's that money divvied up?
We, with our 15 per individual city households. So, and usually these dollars are used last by MMHA because they have other dollars that they can use from other grants and everything, that funding sources that they have, so they try to work through those, because those have much more specific, stringent requirements. So if they have a household that's in Medina and they're like, well, no, actually you fit better for this other grant, and then these dollars can sometimes get preserved till basically kind of the last, which is nice because then the MMHA is doing a really good job to, hyper-focus these dollars that they get for these types of activities to the needs of the community.
Thank you. Other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 1913 grant application ODNR for Reagan Parkway Multi-Purpose Trail Extension. Jonathan? Or Jansen? Who is it?
Jansen.
Okay.
Thank you. This request is for authorization to apply for and accept grant funding from ODNR, Office of the Real Estate, for the Recreational Trails Program. This grant funding provides up to 80% reimbursement assistance for cities, villages, counties, townships various others. Eligible projects include the development of urban trail linkages. This is also part of the Clean Ohio Trails, but we're looking to apply for the recreational trails program because it's more geared towards connecting trails together. And we've talked about this a number of times, and it's came up at board meetings, as well as been identified as more of a regional plan for bicycle transportation. And with the completion of the North Court multi-purpose trail on the west side of the road from Harding all the way to Fenn Road, it's kind of picked up importance. And this grant opportunity isn't always available, but it is this year. The application was posted online the beginning of December, and the deadline is February 1st for 2019. So the project basically entails extending a multi-purpose trail on Reagan Parkway from Larkins Way west to North Court Street that would link Medina Township, the city of Medina, the commercial and retail businesses on North Court to Lake Medina, Medina County Parks, and the county parks has plans to go through Suma Medical Facility to Smith Road. So this connection it's very important to the community because it's going to enable people to use cycling, walking, hiking, jogging to reach destination throughout the city, and having it be a multi-purpose path rather than a 4-foot sidewalk opens up a variety of different recreational opportunities for a multitude of users. So we're requesting to apply for this grant. The engineering department did an estimate for this project of $267,370.53. Depending on at what percentage it gets awarded, if it gets awarded, will determine what our cost match is, and then we'll have to consider funding options at that point. But I am considering putting towards some carry forward funds to offset that grant match because although it wasn't identified in our 5-year plan, I feel it's an important project, and if we're going to do it, now is the opportunity to do it if we can get grant funding to assist with it. So part of the application process is to have public meetings and public input. So we've used social media as well as a survey to the community that's out right now, and we're also planning to have a public meeting on the 17th, this coming Thursday, to discuss the project. So we're hoping to get some input from the community as to what their thoughts are, but the tentative results from our survey are very good. I attached some letters of recommendations as well as, actually I didn't include the Bike Medina County minutes, but they were in favor of this as well. So if the grant's awarded to the city, we're asking in this request additionally for the mayor to accept and complete any documentation for implementation of it. We're asking for the emergency clause because the application is due February 1st.
And what did you say it would be awarded, if it was awarded? How long?
If it is awarded, you have 15 months to complete the project.
And when would it be, when would you know if we?
Usually they announce if it's awarded in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions?
And I think we got this in December, is that right?
Yeah, we got it in December, so we had a very short window of opportunity to turn it around, and that's why this is the first time we're seeing it and hearing about it.
Jansen, and I don't know if it would be included in the subtotal for traffic signal items, but we've been struggling for several years actually about some of the lighting, street lighting on
examples of projects not eligible for funding.
Pardon?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that that question would come up We did inquire about lighting as well as trees and landscaping to kind of continue our efforts that are a little bit further east on Reagan Parkway. The lighting and landscaping is not an eligible match, and it's not an eligible part of the grant. But I had a meeting with Sandy Davis and the mayor a couple weeks ago, decided, do we still apply for the grant then? And we felt it was of value to still go after that, if at all possible, and at least get a portion of it completed.
So lighting, I'm sorry, Paul, just 1 second. Lighting is important for this project. What we're dealing with is an unusual dynamic where the section coming in from Weymouth has the cobra heads and overhead poles. And the section that we just did from Court to Jefferson has the decorative lighting versus cobra heads. So no matter what we do in between those two is not going to match one or the other. So my response to that was whatever's the cheapest. If it's cheapest to do cobra heads and have Ohio Edison help us with it, and then pay them the monthly stipend, or is it cheaper to do the decorative poles and put those in, and then we'll have to bring a separate proposal for you that is not included with this. But we know that that's been an issue at our board meetings for the past 4 to 5 years of the unfinished area, and now for us to continue this area without lighting too, we're going to have to address it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Paul?
Well, the other question I have, is this one of those grants where we have to spend it and then we're reimbursed, or is it just if we're awarded, we get the check?
No, it is a reimbursable. We have to front the money and then get reimbursed.
Any other questions?
Move to approve with the emergency clause.
Second, including emergency clause.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 1914, expenditure over $15,000, Morrison Welding, Uptown Park. Jason.
Thank you. I kind of touched on this with the appropriation adjustment from earlier in the meeting. This has the details of the expense as well as the supporting documents that go with the request. This is a new vendor, and I'm requesting that mayor be authorized to sign a contract for this project.
Okay, question?
Move to approve.
Second.
Put the mayor to sign?
Pardon?
Put the mayor to sign the contract. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 1915, expenditure of $15,000, Krastowski Tractor Sales, Sports Field.
Thank you. This request was identified in our 2019 budget. This is a UTV four-wheel drive Kubota that will be used to groom our infields for baseball and softball in the parks. This is replacing a 1999 Toro groomer that was recently auctioned. Additionally, with this request, we're including a trade-in for a 2007 Groundsmaster Toro lawnmower with a trade-in value of $4,500. Originally in our budget cycle, we were hoping to get a Toro Workman. We looked at a variety of different options and came up with a more cost-effective option that was going to save us about $7,000.
Questions?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 1916, a discussion on a petition for detachment from the city to Lafayette Township. This was a request for John DeMunn through his attorney, Stan Sheets. So Stan's here. So Stan, can you explain what's going on?
My name is Stan Sheets. I represent John DeMunn in Greenhaven subdivision, Dover Highland, which is located directly to the east of this property. The 8.239 acres is directly south of Sealy Mattress. It was part of a city lot the past 45 or 50 years and has lied dormant, but it's directly adjacent to our 285-unit conservation open space subdivision in Lafayette Township. It's currently zoned industrial in your zoning code. It is landlocked. There is no frontage whatsoever on Lake Road, and the only eligible industry to acquire would be Sealy Mattress. We've offered it to Sealy Mattress in 2004, 2008, 2012, 2014, and 2018, and they had no interest in expanding their footprint adjacent to our property. In addition, it currently is serviced with county sewer and county water. There would be no request for any city services whatsoever. The water line and sewer line was put in by the developer, and there is no debt on the land whatsoever, and no debt to the county or the city in relation to the sewer and water extension that was completed in 2005. We just respectfully request that you allow this to be rejoined with the Township of Lafayette. We've discussed this with them to incorporate this within our current subdivision. It would be a cluster home subdivision of affordable housing ranging from about 170,000 up to about 195 to 200,000, with 26 to 28 cluster homes with a private association managing the property. I believe that's all that I have. I'd be glad to answer any of your questions.
Well, before, we sent this to Mr. Huber to give us a letter on what's going on with respect to detachments. I don't know if the city's ever have been involved in a detachment before. This might be the first one. But the question is, you would have to work with us, I assume, to get over the railroad track, because I think we own that railroad corridor too.
It's the Park District. And
is it the Park District owns that?
It's both, right. And we're going to be donating a piece to the park north of this land so they could put in a private parking lot there for the bike rail trail. We're also looking at dedicating an additional trail to the southwest that will ultimately connect through the Farnsworth 52-acre parcel to the Buckeye, I think it's Buckeye Woods on 142, because they're trying to also interconnect the trails through the Medina County Park District trails. Ultimately, they're going to go down to Chippewa Lake currently, and ultimately down to the village of Seville.
So there's no, I guess I'm looking at the picture, is there any existing railroad ties and tracks? No, you don't have to, so the road that you're going to extend is,
yes.
What is this, Wycliffe?
Wycliffe would be extended solely to the west.
And how many units will go in there?
26 to 30. Because we haven't talked to the Park District. If the Park District acquires the 52 acres of Farnsworth, it's on both sides of Lake Road. There might be a piece just south of us, a little triangular piece that we may acquire to have a way in and out from Lake Road, actually. But we won't know that until the plan is really presented, whether Lafayette or Township prefers that we make this connection or not. And we don't really want to create a thoroughfare there by any means within the subdivision.
Questions for Stan? Anybody?
I'm just trying to think of, is there any option for the city to maintain the income tax that could be generated on this property and let the township keep the property taxes or have the property taxes? Because right now we are collecting something. The city is collecting something for this property.
Right, I think the question, correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, I mean, if you really can't change the zoning, because wouldn't it be like spot zoning then, is the question? Because it's an area where there's no other type of residential zoning around where this is located? I mean,
it could easily be construed as kind of the theory behind spot zoning.
Because it's all industrial land down there. I think that's part of the reason too, is we would just pick an 8-acre area and change the zoning, and there's really no way. Now, if we'd have to service it, I guess is the other question. I think we're obligated, if it's in the city, that we provide services to it, and we have no way to get to it. We have to go through the township to get to it.
Okay, all right. I remember that conversation. Okay.
Yeah, but Mr. Huber answered some of those questions, I guess, in his memo about what does detachment of property mean, since we haven't been through it, and some of the issues associated with it. I think the biggest issue that he raised, I think, comes with just fact of having residential property next to industrial property, as we experienced in Ward 1. And with Osborne. Now, I don't know, Sealy's not Osborne, of course, but I don't know what they're going to do, or it could change in the future, who knows?
Right, and Sealy, right now, most of that in the rear is actually warehousing. We're going to give almost an acre to the Park District, and we're going to landscape that acre prior to doing that with mounding and trees to create the buffer. I know it doesn't quiet noise if there's noise, but there's none there. And my residents that live there would much rather have the extension of the subdivision than the potential encroachment of industrial that much closer to our subdivision.
Well, somebody's going to be next to industrial, no matter what happens.
Right. And to the south and to the west is all rural residential from there on down.
I'm complete ignorance, but I know we have the JED in progress with surrounding communities. Is Lafayette part of that or not?
Yes. Yeah, this is residential.
Commercial.
You can't
It's
have
for industrial. Yes.
But not that property.
No,
It's not that property.
Yeah, this property is not, wouldn't be a part of it.
So in Mr. Huber's letter, he does address the concerns of proximity of housing next to industrial. And I would just caution the council respectfully that today Sealy is there and they're not making noise. But if Sealy moves out at some point in the future and some metal stamping or other industrial use that is more noisy moves in, then that's going to generate more complaints. I know Mr. Huber mentioned the Patriots Way development, but it's the Patriots Way development and it's the Yorktown dealing with the issues with the concrete crushing at both Osborne and Fetchco, and of late it's the city and Lafayette Township residents, including in this subdivision, complaining about noise and odors from the Carlisle expansion that we continue to deal with.
How do they contact? Do they contact through the trustees, or do they call the city directly?
Well, some of the complaints we're getting, because the issue is generated in the city, are coming from the township residents to the city, as well as the Strawberry Field subdivision between Ryan and our industrial area, some of Lafayette Road, but we've even had complaints with some of these air movement systems over by Mr. Lamb's house on South Court Street there, and the corridor between Court and Ryan Road there, near AI Root School, that the sound is penetrating that far. Now, Carlisle has been very good with us to agree to cut off the flanges that are right now just blowing straight up at one of the highest elevations of the building, putting an elbow on with a muffler and shooting them towards the west. They did it with one, and it was relatively, I guess cost is relative, but it was close to $20,000 for this muffler for one, to see if it would have a significant impact. Turns out it did, so now they're in the process of ordering 3 more for the other 3 flanges that are left. But I just share that with you, that this could open up additional complaints.
Yeah, I've received, I tried to pass it off to Jim. Not to you, but I mean the people that have called me along the Carlisle. And I've not received since probably mid-December any further complaints from the 2 individuals that's called me.
Right. Well, the most recent one was a number of the residents who directly, it's at the extreme west edge of Strawberry Fields, in their opinions, were misled when the development was put in and told that that green space between them and the industry was protected and would never be disturbed, when in essence that was part of the industrial land that could be. Now there is a substantial block of land to the south of the armory that they own, the state of Ohio owns. So that creates a buffer for those from that point towards Lafayette Road. But for those that are closer to Carlisle, you know, the plant with their expansion obviously moved closer. they didn't come, the planning and zoning restriction is 50 foot. They can't be any closer than 50 foot, and they're nowhere near that at this point. But the fact of the matter is, they could if they chose to. And I've explained that to the development. Now, the other thing is that development was built in the 90s, and the industry was built in the 60s and 70s. So the industry was there, the land was zoned industrial, and some of it was just a lack of investigation by the people when they were purchasing or building their homes there.
And while we're on this subject, I'd like to publicly thank Mr. Gladish for his work with Carlisle.
He's done a great job with mitigating it.
Kimberly, do you have any thoughts? I mean, I don't think we've ever detached anything, and now we're detaching industrial land.
So I talked to Stan about that and basically said the same thing with the mayor is like, I understand what he's trying to do, but my concern is if the industry at Tepper Sealy does change hands and it's some other business and they are louder, then how is that are we gonna get flooded with more complaints like what we're dealing with Carlisle? Because Carlisle may consider another expansion. So.
Stan?
All I would say to that, I have done multiple detachments. Probably 80% of these have been in this type of relationship. I have one right in my village of Seville. I have 52 condominiums directly adjacent to industrial on Park Avenue West, and we've had no problem whatsoever by creating the buffer and the trees. This is going to be over 300 feet away from Sealy, and it's going to be with a park in between and proper buffering. And we do not anticipate a problem, and I realize you could potentially get calls if it changed. That is a quote risk, but it's up to the jurisdiction that it's in to deal with it, which would be Lafayette Township. And I appreciate your concern, but again, this land has sat there dormant for almost 50 years, or maybe even over that to my knowledge. But we want to be able to finish our development.
Mr. Huber, do you have anything to add to your memo or thoughts when you reviewed this?
No, I think the mayor explained the only question I had, because our law department's dealing with complaints from neighbors, and we've had plenty where the residents in different areas of the city butt up against an industrial operation. Beyond that, as I explained in my memo, this is entirely discretionary with the council. You can choose to do so, choose to not do so. It's you have a wide range of discretion on the question of detachment.
So, I mean, what I would recommend, I mean, I'd like, council drive down there, look at it. I mean, because this is the, big thing, the first time we've ever done this. Determine how you feel about it. If you want to detach it, it'll change the zoning. It's going to eliminate a little bit of industrial land, 8 acres, that's there. Whether or not it's going to be developed industrial ever, who knows? We don't know. But I think the decision would have to be made, by the next meeting so that, they can move forward with the project. I know they gave it to us while we were before break and we did all the things, and of course we didn't take any action on it because we were not here. But, we have to make a decision. So I think that if you have questions, ask Stan. But go down and look at it and see what you think is the impact that'll be with the city, or what you want to do. You're willing to give that up for the city is the first question. And the second question is dealing with the issue of, as always been talked about here, buffering and the noise complaints. Now, Carlisle's pretty far away and you're getting noise complaints, but again, that's a different type of manufacturing processes that happen at Sealy. But again, Sealy may or may not be there forever. Who knows? So that's something you'll have to think about and make a determination of what you think the impact will be. Does it matter? Is it good for the community to add more cluster development down there? Do you want to have a hope that there's going to be industrial development? It's up to you to decide what you think is going to happen. We have a request in front of us of something to occur, and you're going to make a determination if you're willing to do that. Any questions on it? Yes.
You made a comment that the property would have to be rezoned. If we detach it, if we agree to detach it, the rezoning would be on the part of Lafayette Township, not the city. Okay. But if we don't detach it, then it remains industrial.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. President, so if we were to keep it industrial, and, you know, we were able to find somebody that wants to buy it for manufacturing, how would they access that property? Would it have to be just through Sealy's property, or?
I don't think it's gonna go through the residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, because I think it's probably prohibitive for truck traffic to go through the residential
We
neighborhood.
would need like an easement agreement from Sealy or whoever has that property to get to this property.
Right, now,
Yes.
they tried to sell it to Sealy didn't want to expand, but you're correct, if Sealy
Right.
changes and there's no longer a Sealy here, it's a larger piece possibly, but they would have to purchase it, of course, it wouldn't, you know, it'd have to be part of this. Correct.
Stan, do you know, was it all part of one piece of property and Sealy just bought the front part of it?
That is correct.
Okay.
Because I did not annex it when I annexed the rest of Dover Highlands. It was already in the city. It had been split at least 3 times, the lot.
Who's adjacent to the north of that property? Is that, who owns adjacent to that?
There's some vacant land, then where 3M used to be, or Spray Products is up in there.
So it's on that side there?
Yes, on the east side. And if you drive in, you drive in through Wycliffe Drive.
And they have no interest in purchasing property that abuts them on the property if it's Spray Products or 3M?
No, there's no way. Sealy cuts it off. Sealy goes all the way to the tracks.
Oh, they go out of the...
They go all the way to the tracks. That used to be a delivery through there to Sealy when they used the tracks years and years ago. But no, there's no access.
So to the west of it is all township?
West is all township, south is all township.
Is the township property for sale? The township property?
No, the house that was there, that we tried to purchase it, and when we purchased the south, they've doubled the size of it. He has 4 daughters, single man, 4 daughters living directly adjacent to Sealy.
Okay.
No interest in selling. They called to tell us that.
Okay.
Okay. So we have the information. If you guys check it out, just take a drive down there, call Stan, and at the next finance meeting, we'll take a vote, make a decision of what way you want to go.
Stan, is the best way to see it is to come from the development or to come through Sealy?
No, through the development. Yeah, it dead ends right into it. You'll see the bike rail trail starts there. People park on Wycliffe and leave their cars and do the bike trail. So this would get those parked people off of Wycliffe and give the parking for the bike rail trail as a terminus.
Okay. Anything else, Stan?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right. So check that out, and we'll be back at the next meeting. All right, is there anything else to come before finance before we recess into executive session?
Now I'll make a motion at 6:46 to enter into executive session for the purpose of considering the purchase of property for public purposes. A premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive bargaining advantage to the person whose personal and private interest is adverse to the public interest.
Second. I'd like to include Mr. Huber and County Commissioner Bill Hudson. That's okay.
I motion that is to include those 2 additional individuals, including the mayor.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Lamb.
Yes.
Starcher.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Moyen.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Heffernan.
Yes.
We'll be recessing the executive session to discuss the potential purchase of property and land acquisition. We'll be coming out of executive session to take no action on the items discussed, and then we'll adjourn from finance and go to council. We are in recess.